大家好，那么在这节课我们要学会怎么样去概述一个故事。然后在这节课我会用英文比较多一些，我会少说中文。好，那我们就开始说说英文吧。Okay, today we're going to look at how to summarize the story of 故宫. The main thing to think about with this story is that it isn't just a simple narrative. So it doesn't really have that classic structure of beginning, middle, and end. 也就是说，这个故事可能最大的一个特点是，它不是那种典型的那种叙述性的那种故事，它也没有那种传统的架构，一个开场，一个高潮，还有一个结束。This story is more a story about how one man, Master Kuai, faced a particular design challenge. 也就是说，这个故事主要是讲这个快师傅他如何面临一个设计的挑战。What kind of challenge? How to build and design buildings in a way to reflect the power and prestige of the emperor. 就是简单的说，他面临的那个挑战是如何通过建筑设计的风格来反映皇帝的威望。So, that is the main message we need to convey when telling this story. We also need to imagine what kind of a context we would be telling this story in. Clearly, if we have a foreign friend visiting China and wanting to visit the Forbidden City, we would wish to introduce it to them. 好的，那我们也要考虑一下，我们会在什么样的一个场合、什么样的一个情况讲这个故事。但是我觉得这个不难。大部分的老外来到中国之后，他们肯定迟早要去看看故宫。所以你遇到一个想去看故宫的一个老外，你完全在跟他交流和对话当中可以提到我们这个课程的故事。Okay, now before going into details, we would want our foreign friend to get a good understanding of what the overall structure of the Forbidden City is like. We also want to convey to them that what they should be looking out for is not individual buildings, but the overall placement of buildings. And of course, a key notion we need to convey is the idea of symmetry and balance. So instead of talking about how to summarize the story, today let's talk about how to use this story in conversation. 那么今天我们平时第二节课都是关于怎么样去概述一个故事，但是今天我更想教大家怎么样去在一个对话当中去应用这个故事。But before we begin, let's go over a few key words of vocabulary. They're coming up on your screen now. The first word is symmetry, 对称. The second word is balance, 平衡. The third is a phrase, actually, which is placement of buildings. 建筑的布局, simple and unpretentious, 又简单又含蓄. Majestic and grand, 也就是说壮观的意思。So, let's imagine then what a foreign friend has said to you. Maybe he said, I'm going to the Forbidden City tomorrow. Okay, what might you say in response? You might say something like this. That's a fantastic place to visit. You can really get an idea of China's architecture and sense of beauty there. 哇，你选择故宫是真没有错。你到那边肯定可以感觉到中国传统的建筑风格以及整个中国古代的一种审美感。Then, to introduce your story, you can ask a question like this. Do you know who designed the Forbidden City? 那么你知道谁设计了故宫吗？ And your foreign friend will probably say, no. Then you can say, well, it was designed by a man we usually call Master Kuai. His story is really quite interesting. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Great, your foreign friend will reply. Okay, well, the Forbidden City was built by the second Ming Dynasty emperor. He decided to move the capital city from Nanjing to Beijing. He needed a palace, so he sought out designs from as many people as he could. Master Kuai wanted to submit a design. He was faced with a challenge. The challenge was how to show with a design that this was the most important place in China, the seat of imperial power. Maybe your foreign friend will interject at this point saying, wow, that's fascinating. So, how did Master Kuai work this out? You can then reply, well, his key concept was symmetry. 也就是说，他最核心的一个想法或者理念就是对称。And he came up with this concept called the central axis. That is, a line which runs from north to south, right through the middle of the Forbidden City. Actually, if you want to understand old Beijing, you really need to understand the central axis because it used to extend beyond the walls of the Forbidden City. Your foreign friend will then say, okay, I think I get that, but how exactly does this central axis work? You will then reply, well, basically, you see it in the placement of buildings. A building on the left will usually be balanced by a building on the right. Buildings standing along the central axis will be symmetrical. Your foreign friend may then reply, okay, but what can you tell me about the buildings themselves? You can then reply, well, don't expect to see grand castles or palaces like in Europe. The buildings you will see tend to be lower, smaller scale, but their beauty lies in their simplicity, balance, and elegance. The beauty of the buildings of the Forbidden City is a kind of simple and unpretentious beauty. Your foreign friend might then say, that's really interesting. So the design is simple and yet the overall effect is still grand and impressive. And you will reply, that's right. The sense of majesty is conveyed by the sense of balance and the sense of symmetry. It is, as I have said, in the overall placement of the buildings. It is not so much that any individual is trying to impress people. The idea is that the overall placement of the buildings together gives an overall impression of harmony. The idea of imperial power was the idea of bringing order to the world. The order the emperor brings to the world reflects the order and symmetry of the universe. So the symmetry and balance of the Forbidden City will reflect the order that the emperor is bringing to the world. Of course, you would then go on to describe some of these specific buildings and sites that your friend is likely to see. 那么，当然你讲完了这个故事之后，你会再跟你的朋友讲一下他在故宫的时候会遇到什么具体的景点，包括他去故宫博物馆，他会看到什么样的文物。You can also describe some of the magnificent objects that they will encounter in the museum. But starting with this story about Master Kuai is the perfect way to get your friend into the correct mindset to start appreciating the unique beauty of the Forbidden City. 那么，如果你从快师傅这个故事开始给你的外国朋友讲解一下故宫的特点，这个我觉得会给你的外国朋友一种框架，通过这个框架，他可以慢慢开始进入到一个适合的状态来欣赏故宫的独一无二的那种审美感。By talking about the central axis, it helps your foreign friend to get that first bird's eye view of the whole of the Forbidden City. So what do we mean by a bird's eye view? Well, a bird's eye view is looking at the whole of the Forbidden City from the top as if it's a map. Because what you want your foreign friend to have when they're going around the Forbidden City is a sense of the whole order and structure of the city and that sense of balance. Okay, well that's all for today's class, and I really hope you can use this story in your conversations with foreign friends, because you're sure to meet a foreign friend who's going to be visiting the Forbidden City. Okay, that's it from me. Bye for now.